Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 6 of our build series. Today we're going to be going into detail on wall framing for a post frame structure using commercial style girts. So as I've discussed in our prior episodes, using the commercial style girts is new for me. I've built quite a few post frame structures using the traditional girts, and for those of you who are wondering, the girt is basically the board that spans horizontally post to post, creating your wall. So what I'm doing here is getting a base plate in. In a lot of places it almost ends up being a hybrid between a traditional stick built and a post frame, and I'm doing sill plates kind of like you would on a normal foundation. And so what I'm doing here is drilling in, using my bolts to get the sill plate set, and then I have that sill seal on the bottom. The sill seal is that kind of pink foam that you see there, and that's going to help keep moisture and air from moving underneath that sill plate and create a good seal between the concrete and that pressure treated board. Murphy here decided to be very helpful and take my other bolt. I never thought that I'd baby talk my dog, but now I have a golden doodle. So once those sill plates are on, that gives me a place to attach my verticals to. With a post frame, where the efficiency comes is really in the walls, because your horizontal girts, they can go up so fast. When you start adding doors and windows, that's where it starts to take a lot of time. And really, whether you're doing traditional stick built framing or post frame, it's gonna take time to frame out your windows and doors no matter what. With this framing here, I'm getting my horizontals, they're 24 on center, and using blocking in between. The nice thing about this is that I was able to cut my blocks in bulk, so it's 24 on center, so all my blocks are 22.5 inches, so I can just set my boards down, get them nailed, and then I have my blocking all ready to go and start moving up. Now, one thing you'll notice with post frames is that above your windows and your doors, you don't have any headers. And so what a header is the board. It depends on the size of the structure and the loads, but for a standard stick built structure, your walls are load bearing all the way across. But with a post frame, all the weight is carried in that post, transferred down the post into your footer below that post, and so you don't have to have a header with a post frame. With the windows here, basically the blocking adds that extra 1.5 inches, because we just need 3 inches going around the window to have enough nail space for our metal trim. And then other than that, it's basically free floating, and then once we get our metal on the outside, that's going to add a lot of strength and rigidity to the wall system. Got the framing up, made sure all my nails were flush. Really important with doing metal buildings that you don't have any nails sticking up, because never fails, you miss a nail and then you get a metal panel up and it's going to push through and it's going to show through that metal panel. Getting the wrap up nice and tight. I like to do house wrap, even if I wasn't doing building a house with a post frame and metal walls and metal sheeting. Some people don't do house wrap behind the metal. I like to do the house wrap. It acts as a moisture barrier and a wind barrier, so if you have any wind that makes its way past that panel where it overlaps, it's going to help block that. It's also going to help any moisture. If you get any moisture behind that panel, it's going to help it run down that wall, keep your insulation dry. Getting windows set here. You can't see from this angle, but I have a couple shims underneath to give myself a gap there. And with my window system, I bring my house wrap in, but my flashing, the way I flash my windows, mostly happens on the outside, and it ties into how I do my metal, my trim metal, and then how the panels tie into everything. Skid steer coming in handy again here. I'm getting the form boards peeled off. I hadn't gotten to taking them off yet. The stakes are hard enough to get out of ground normally, but with it being frozen, there is no way I was that up by hand. It's kind of hard to see in this angle here, and we'll go into more detail when we start doing the metal and the trim in the following video after this one. But I had custom flashing made. That flashing acts as my rack guard on the bottom, which basically is where the bottom of my metal will go to, and acts as a sill that protects my foam, so it'll go down under the ground there and protect my foam from the elements, and also just make it look a lot nicer. I was also able to cut it back and use it as a sill pan for my door going in there. Getting my door set, I like to set my doors with just a couple screws on the outside first, just to hold it in place. Once I've got it all plumb, make sure that the top is level so it's going to shut smoothly, and then I go back in later and I add screws in. This was particularly difficult right here. When I calculated for my slab, I calculated for a 5-inch slab in the center, but where we were at, I really didn't want to have a cleanup truck, which is basically that you run short of concrete and you have to order a whole nother truck of concrete, and it gets expensive to order a whole nother truck for just a yard. So I calculated for a 6-inch slab in the center, even though I was pretty close to 5 inches, and I ended up being spot on with my calculation, and that extra inch was another 3 yards of concrete. And so we just did a free form at the end of our concrete pour. I had to have a little patio going off the back, but we had to leave the form board in for the outside, and so peeling that out with the skid steer here. That stump bucket has some nice long teeth on it, so it works good for reaching in there and peeling that board out. That form board was getting pretty old anyways, dried and cracking apart, so it didn't have much life in it. It's made it through a lot of pours. Nice thing about getting my doors on and getting the place wrapped is that I was able to get handles on, and at this point we are really weathered in other than our gables.
So I was feeling a little overwhelmed today on the project, having a hard time staying focused. A lot of long days out here, but I've found that, get out of the sun here. I found that a lot of times, for me at least, when I'm feeling that way, it's because everything's kind of turns into a big mess. So I spent the last couple hours in here cleaning up, organizing, sweeping, and helped a lot.
As always, we really appreciate you following along. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe. We're about a month behind on making videos, so the project's moving along, shooting for our April deadline, and looking forward to sharing the rest of the project with you.